Live studio audience.
Fire up the projectors, turn on your TVs, and adjust your antennas. It's time for the Screen Addicts podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Screen Addicts podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Cinema, father of the bride, Steven Sosa.
And I'm your other co-host, Chris, the Flower Man Villegas.
It's pretty good.
Hey man, I've seen there's new trends going on where it's like the beer man instead of a flower boy. It's a guy that walks down the aisle and hands beers out to the crowd. It's amazing.
I bet your TikTok feed is just amazing, Chris. I need to see your For You page one of these days.
One day.
Also, we have a very, very special guest joining us today, and I will allow her to take the floor from here.
Hi, it's Danielle, the wedding crasher, because I'm crashing the episode this week.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
I love how our guests always just do so much better with the nicknames than we do, Chris. But that's
absolutely
good. That's good. Well, Danielle, please tell us a little bit about yourself and the show.
Oh, sure. So I'm one half of a dynamic duo. We are two ex-Blockbuster employees and best friends, and our podcast is called No More Late Fees. We talk about movies from the late 90s and early 2000s, and we talk about how we felt about them back in the day and rewatching them, how we feel about them now. Do they pass the sniff test? Some of them don't, and it's just hilarity because I don't remember anything, and Jackie tries to keep me on course, so, you know.
Hey, that's what I do with Steven.
Yeah, that's exactly
that dynamic with friends.
I think that and you can tell with the rapport that you two have together, it's two friends talking about movies that you're passionate about, and it really comes through on the show. And everyone definitely should go follow No More Late Fees podcast. It's really good. And I think one of my personal favorite things about your show is your rating system of your movies. And I know like most people do like a star rating or a 9 out of 10 type of rating, but please tell us your rating system because I think it's so great.
So we knew that we wanted to tie in the fact that we worked at Blockbuster. We were having huge nostalgia, especially during the pandemic. And so we were like, how do we make a rating system? Once we figured out we were going to do a rating about like how our Y2K selves thought of the movie, and then what we felt after we rewatched it now with adult eyes. So we were like, oh, what about just like the way that the movies were kind of ranked at Blockbuster. So our scale consists of would buy it again, because obviously at Blockbuster you could go and buy your favorite movies. Then there's 5-day rental, which is like, it was really good, but I didn't buy it. Then there's 2-day rental, which is like kind of middle ground. It's okay. And then there's just a same-day rental. You're taking it back right away. You're not rewatching it. You're done with it. It's trash.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a fun time trying to say different words for trash when we do same-day rentals. So, yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, and I know that there's plenty of movies that we've talked about that qualify for purchase and same-day return. And but we really appreciate you coming on. And it's
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and I was telling Chris, I was fanboying out on you because I love the show. And every movie that you pick, it hits a particular nostalgia point, like you said, because it's just movies that growing up, like we were in, high school and like around the early 2000s and going into college and stuff. And so every single movie that you have picked in your show, I'm just like, damn, that's another great movie that I just watched nonstop. And I'm gonna have you like post or name drop your TikTok page as well, because your TikTok feed is really good. Like your editing of every movie that you discuss is just as good as the episode itself.
Oh my God, you guys are like,
I'm telling you, you're gonna blush. You're gonna blush, I promise, because we love you all, and we're really excited to have you on. speaking of this episode, we all had wedding-themed nicknames, and that is because there isn't necessarily a movie coming out this week that pertains to wedding, but it is my daughter's wedding this weekend. And yes, I am father of the bride, hence the nickname. And I told Chris, I said, what was coming out? The Little Mermaid. I was like, is there something about the Little Mermaid that we can do that we haven't done Disney-esque? And I'm like, oh damn, my daughter's wedding. Let's do wedding movies. So we're going to be ranking our top 3 favorite wedding-themed movies. It could be at a wedding, it could be elements to a wedding. Doesn't matter. We're going to name our top 3 like we usually do. And, of course, we're going to have a few honorable mentions before our number ones. And so, in true Screen Addicts fashion, we always allow our guest to start off our list. So, Danielle, please, what is your number 3 favorite wedding-themed movie?
I'm going to go with the 1994 hit called, or it's like an indie called Muriel's Wedding with Toni Collette. Has an amazing soundtrack from ABBA in it, and it's one of my faves.
That's her first movie, isn't it? I was telling Chris that I think that was Toni Collette's first movie. It's pretty old.
It might be.
If it's not her, yeah. I mean, if it's not her first movie, it was definitely the one that put her on the map, because without Muriel's Wedding, I mean, it's super Australian too, and like it has that Australian authenticism to it. But yeah, that's a really good pick. I like how you started your list out with a nice little indie slice of the 90s. It's perfect for your show, and it's just, it's perfect for our show too. But I haven't seen Muriel's Wedding in a really long time, and that is definitely one that I should. Do you remember that movie, Chris? Muriel's Wedding? I mean,
I have to admit, when you sent me Danielle's list, I looked at it and I'm like, I've never even heard of this movie. Oh no! So I'm like, I'm very interested, because I want Danielle to kind of let our audience know like what it's about and how, like the plot summary or something. Because I'm like, I want to know about it because I've never seen it.
Try to sell Chris on this movie.
Yes.
Okay, so it's Australia, the 90s, obviously. And Muriel is kind of an outcast. There's a clique of mean girls, essentially, in her neighborhood. Her dad is a big a-hole, pretty much. So she has a huge family. She has a bunch of brothers and sisters. Muriel, all she wants is to get married. Like, she feels like that is the pinnacle of her existence, is to get married. She's obsessed with weddings, and she's almost living in a fantasy world while, all this drama and trauma is happening in her household. Her dad is like a local politician, and he has this, like, I don't know if he's having like a midlife crisis or whatever, but he feels like his family's kind of holding him back from his political aspirations. Muriel's mom does everything for her family, and but kind of just gets walked all over. Like, her brother steals, her sister does whatever. Like, everybody's just like at the bottom of the barrel pretty much. And here's Muriel trying to be in with the it club, the it clique or whatever, and she steals from her dad and goes on a trip with the girls who are celebrating one of the girls getting married, and she ends up meeting like her soul sister, pretty much one of her best friend on this trip, who's also with the girls but doesn't like quite fit in with them. And she's obsessed with ABBA, so like throughout the movie you just hear ABBA playing, and you see there's like a really cool sing-along karaoke moment in the movie that's pretty epic. And I was thinking about between this movie and Mamma Mia, and I was like, I have to go with the OG ABBA wedding movie, and it's Muriel's Wedding. So you get to see Muriel kind of grow and kind of get outside of this fantasy life. Like, real world stuff starts to hit her, and she starts to grow up a little bit. But like the whole premise is her being obsessed and wanting to get married, and she has a wedding, but it doesn't happen the way that she thinks it's going to happen. So it's pretty cool.
Man,
I'm sold. For right now, it's a one-day rental.
Right. Until you decide to keep it, right, Chris?
Right.
I never realized that Mamma Mia did kind of ride on the shoulders of Muriel's Wedding, because everybody just associates ABBA with Mamma Mia now. I mean, it's not only the title of one of their songs, but yeah, and there's a wedding in Mamma Mia. So, wow, I didn't even really think about that. There had to have been some kind of inspiration to Muriel's Wedding with that one. But
I'm sure.
wow, that's a good point.
Sure they saw the success of, like, because it's just so synonymous with that movie, and so I'm sure ABBA was like, we could probably build a musical around our music. So yeah.
Nice.
Pretty good. All right, so Muriel's Wedding, Chris, we need to add it to our rewatch queues.
Yes.
And I need to rewatch it. You need to watch it for the first time.
First
It's
time.
actually pretty good.
Is there any streaming platform you can watch it on, or is it something I might have to go and pirate?
We don't pirate here, Chris.
Oh, sorry.
We purchase, not pirate.
Purchase.
We purchase Amazon.
That's what I meant.
I feel like it might be on HBO right now, but I'm not sure. It's on, you can rent it on Apple TV, Vudu, Amazon Prime. It's for rent. It's not streaming for free right now. So I won't judge anything, if you know what I mean.
Chris,
Perfect.
I said do whatever you need to do off the air, but we always purchase on the.
We purchase on air. Gotcha.
In that regard, Chris, please tell us your number 3 wedding theme movie.
Perfect. So my number 3 wedding movie is Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn, Rachel McAdams, Christopher Walken, and Wedding Crashers as our guest nickname. Man,
it's perfect.
And it also has Jane Seymour, man. Jane Seymour I love Jane Seymour. I don't know why. I just do.
Right now.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Why do you have beef with Jane?
With Dr. Quinn? Why?
Because my mom, I don't know if she's watching QVC or something. She wanted to get this face stuff. I don't know that. I'm not even going to say the name because I'm not trying to give Jane any more coin for her pockets.
I get you.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
My mom really wanted it, so I went to the website to go purchase it for Christmas. Fine. Then I get targeted with a whole bunch of Jane Seymour videos on Instagram. Like, bitch won't leave me alone, right? And then, next thing I know, the next month, I got charged another $100 for this damn crack face cream stuff. They sent me like a whole nother box of stuff. I was like, I didn't sign up for this. I had to report it to my credit card and stop them. They sent me mail talking about I owe them money. How much face stuff could I use in a month? Jane.
Jeez. All right, Jane. I'm marking you off this cast list.
Way to go, Chris. That's 2 already, Chris.
I know, man. But the movie's great.
Yes,
Wedding Crashers. Wedding Crashers is great. It's one of those, and it came out in 2005. So, the whole kind of weird, raunchy type of wedding movie, this is like a first of its kind to me. And, it's Vince Vaughn, he's always been a nasty bastard, so it's great. And the football scene in this movie is freaking hilarious. It reminds me a lot of my family. We're very competitive that way. And if, when I first met my wife now, we had a volleyball game with my family, and that's how she got introduced to my family. Well, all things happen. She gets hit with the ball, our relationship almost ended. Kind of like it was. My family's very mean, and it's fine. It worked out in the end, but man, just the movie's so funny from beginning to end. It's hard to beat this first kind of its movie. It's a wedding movie without being a wedding movie, and it's just hilarious. So much fun.
Yeah, and it's the first. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Danielle. Please.
No, it's the first team up of Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn because I think they went to do that Google movie. I can't remember what.
Oh, the internship.
The internship,
yeah.
And I think they're in talks. Right now to do Wedding Crashers too.
I was just about to say, I'm shocked that they never did a part 2 of that movie, because that movie was a huge hit in the summer of 2005. And I guess because the way that it ends, they all grow up and they get married to Rachel McAdams, and Isla Fisher. That was Isla Fisher's like first big breakout movie, and I guess they're no longer Wedding Crashers or something, but maybe they get divorced and decide to go do it again or something. But yeah, that's a good pick, Chris.
Or they have kids and their sons are going to be the Wedding Crashers. Who knows?
Right.
Or they do funeral. They get one of them gets so depressed they're doing funeral crashes.
Like Will Ferrell did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good. Well, my number 3 is kind of something similar to that. Like I wouldn't say like a frat bro comedy or anything like that, but it was a very male-centric comedy, and that would be I Love You, Man with Paul Rudd and Jason Segel. And the thing that makes this one the wedding theme based is that Paul Rudd is basically looking for a best man for his wedding because he has no friends other than his girlfriend. He's a very girlfriend strong type of guy, and he has no wedding party, whereas Rashida Jones has a whole crew of ladies that are going to be joining her. She's like, who's going to be standing up there with you? And he's like, I don't know. So therefore he embarks on this wonderful journey of finding his best man and ends up with Jason Segel's character. And I don't know what it is about this movie, but I really enjoyed this movie. I liked it more than The Hangover, than like all these like movies that kind of came out around that time. I guess it was like 2010 is around the time that it came out, and it seemed like comedies were going in a weird, they had like this really weird lull period around that time period because there's not a lot of really, I guess well-known or fondly remembered comedies around that time period. I guess you had like something like Forgetting Sarah Marshall and stuff like that, but I Love You, Man. I really enjoyed that movie. It's so funny. The cast of characters. As a matter of fact, I saw a meme the other day that someone shared on Reddit about. They were like, take a look. I guess the thread was something like, what are some movies that had a nice ensemble cast that gets overlooked? And then someone listed all of the people in I Love You, Man. And I said, damn, I guess that's true. Like they had so many people in this movie, and it's just such a funny movie. It holds up. And I know the true template is that when my kids watch something now, and if they laugh at it now, they're like, okay, yeah, that was really funny. And, for example, Connor, he's 18, he's about to be 19. We watched Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle for the first time just like 2 days ago. And he was like, what are some movies, that you watch like around college time? I'm like, yeah, I watched this. Let's watch this one. And he's laughing his ass off. I'm like, okay, cool. It still holds up, And he was like, I can't believe they made this movie back then. I'm like, well, it was 2004. The rules were out the window back then. They didn't really, and I guess
they weren't as tight as they were now. For sure.
Well, that and it's just like there was a lot of things that got overlooked, as far as offensive material and stuff. And I'm like, well, it is what it is. But like with I Love You, Man, we watched that as well, and he just thought it was hilarious. And I guess the director John Hamburg did that recent one with Me Time with Mark Wahlberg and was it Kevin Hart on Netflix? I think that just came out or something like that. And I haven't watched that yet, but I'm thinking that it's probably pretty good because he also directed Along Came Polly, which is also pretty funny.
Good.
But as far as wedding themes, I Love You, Man. It's my number 3.
I really like that movie a lot because I think it's like a really positive movie for males. Like it talks about male friendship in a different way, and the importance of a male friendship and just like being vulnerable. Like they do a lot of like bro-y stuff, but it's not as bro-y as that's like the sweet spot of like the Judd Apatow movement, and rom-coms in general will change. And even though it's a friendship movie, it does feel very rom-com-y in a weird way. Same with like 40-Year-Old Virgin. People are like, oh, the rom-com died. I don't think it died. I think the lead changed. It used to be like uber professional women and their ideal man, and then it changed. Like I would say the female lead version of those movies changed to a nerdy white man for a good few years. But I Love You, Man was just a little bit different. Like, and if they had gotten any other two actors in it, I don't know if it would have been as poignant because Paul Rudd and Jason Segel have that ability to be vulnerable yet funny, and likable, and you could tell that they have like a real friendship off screen that just kind of resonated. So I really like that movie a lot.
Yeah, it is. It is. I like what you touched there with the Judd Apatow aspect of that because, yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to try and. I can't speak more than that. That was really good. I've got nothing. Chris,
us men have feelings too, you know.
Yeah, we feel. We have the feels.
You know, that's the way me and Steven are behind the scenes. I mean, we love each other, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, that's a good point to say because it's like as far as like the rom-com, it kind of goes into a platonic love rather than a romantic love.
Yeah.
Like two guys can love each other, but they're best friends, and it's not. You know, it can. I mean, it can be, and that's fine too. But it's just also you talk about friendships, and that's something about I Love You, Man. Because it's funny to think that if I went and I tried to make a new friend today, that was a male, and it would be kind of people look at that in a certain way where they're like, "Are you all right?" It's almost as if our set friendships are who we have. And if I would
better not be making no more friends, bro.
Chris, you don't have to be jealous, man.
I am already. Don't talk like that.
All right, sorry. You know what? Let's just move on before we have an argument in front of our prestigious guest over here. So
that's right.
I'm gonna go right into my number 2, and we'll swing back around the other way. Okay. So my number 2 is the 1991 version of Father of the Bride with Steve Martin and Diane Keaton and Martin Short. And
the only version.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna, not technically. You have the 51 Spencer Tracy one, yeah, and the brand new one with Andy Garcia that just came out last year, which I couldn't really get into that one. There's a lot of the humor that's gone. There's certain whimsical charm that someone like Steve Martin can present. That he can do something really stupid and it comes off, charming and funny. Whereas Andy Garcia is just kind of he's like a tough guy. He's real suave, nothing that I've ever really seen him as far as charisma. I mean, he does have charisma. It's Andy Garcia.
All day.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely does. And it's funny you say that. My wife had never seen the Godfather movies, and we watched Godfather Part 3, and Andy Garcia shows up in that. She's like, I don't remember Andy Garcia ever looking like this. So I was like, yeah, he was the man. But his Father of the Bride was okay. The Spencer Tracy one is okay too, from 1951. But there's just something about the Steve Martin one. I've always enjoyed that. I enjoyed the sequel.
I know exactly what the magic is and the difference between that version and everything else. One, obviously, you have the power combination of Steve Martin and Martin Short, but this is a Nancy Meyers film.
Yes, okay? That is true.
This is a screenplay written by Nancy Meyers, and homegirl don't play. She's not just giving us like amazing thought out characters, and I think she layered Steve Martin's character to be vulnerable, because if you think about like the movies coming out of the late 80s and the comedies, the dads were knuckleheads but didn't have any like weight to them. Steve Martin's character, you're really feeling the loss of like his daughter is now a grown up, and his ability to be vulnerable and funny at the same time. He has that range. And then the women in the film have a little bit more, like his wife isn't just supporting him, she's like going through her own stuff. It is from a male perspective, but it's not at the expense of the female characters. And then visually, aspirationally, like everybody remembers that house, how it was decorated, even though it was in the 90s. Like it's a Nancy Meyers house. So I just think all of those elements put together was magic. And then when they did the second movie, it was still really good, which is very hard to do when you have to do a remake, to make it your own, and then have a sequel that's almost as good as the first one.
It's funny you say that about Nancy Meyers, because the director was actually Charles Shire, and he even himself had said that, he tried to get, if I'm not mistaken, he tried to get Nancy Meyers co-directing credit for this movie, because while they were filming the movie, there were certain emotional complexities that Charles Shire wasn't able to convey to the actors, but then Nancy Meyers, as the screenwriter's right there on set, she comes in and says, no, this is how you would want to do this. So even Charles Shire was like, well, maybe we should give, Nancy Meyers some credit here, because she's helped course the outline for some of these actors and actresses. And I mean, Diane Keaton's she's amazing. Diane Keaton. She's amazing in everything she does. And I think that Well, did Nancy Meyers? She went on to direct Something's Got to Give. I mean, I know she wrote. I don't know. We could go into a whole filmography of Nancy Meyers, but she did so many good movies. And there was a situation where she finally got to take the director's seat herself. And I think once that happened, that was it. I mean, because what was it? What Women Want, Something's Got to Give.
And Parent Trap?
Yes, The Parent Trap.
I think The Parent Trap actually came
before. It was after Father of the Bride. But before
Something's Got to Give. And
yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Want. And I don't know. So, did she? Yeah, she did do What Women Want, because there's like a whole thing about like the decor of her movies. It's complicated, which is really good.
Right, with Meryl Streep, that was good.
The only one that I don't love is the one that Reese Witherspoon did more recently. I can't remember what it's called.
Is it the one with Owen Wilson? How Do I Know or something? No, that was James L. Brooks, and that was
It's Sheen, Michael Sheen, I think, plays the dad. Anywho, it's okay, but I think she didn't really do it as her daughter did it, so
I see.
It has the aesthetics, but not
all the way.
It's not a Nancy Meyers kind of thing,
but we here on the Screen Addicts podcast will fully endorse Nancy Meyers as the writer, producer, director of Father of the Bride, because it really encapsulates her style. And we rewatch, and growing up watching it, you see it from the perspective of the kids because they're closest to the age of us as we're watching it. And then it got to this position where we rewatched it the other day on Disney Plus, because both of them are on Disney Plus. We watched it, and our daughter was here, and I just lost it. I said, "This sucks." I'm over here crying. I'm like, when did I cry at Father of the Bride before? I never cared this much, and it just hit me just like a Mack truck, and it was just terrible. I'm like, this movie is awful now, but awful in a good way. But it's just so much better now as an adult, as a father. It just really, really resonated, and I mean that's why it's my number 2. But Chris, go ahead.
How many times this week, or have you already had almost like that scene where you're staring at your daughter and you see the little girl instead of the adult, like in your mind?
It's funny you said that, because our friend Erica actually said that line. It's like, I met a boy and I'm getting married, and I'm just like, she said that the other day and I almost started crying. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop. It's funny. We were rehearsing our daddy-daughter dance tonight, and it's basically, I'll give you two a preview. It's a Taylor Swift medley of songs where we're going to have like a whole choreographed number that we're working on together. And just the first part, where it's the slow part, I almost start crying. I'm like, oh my God, I got to keep it together. Otherwise my performance will suffer, and I can't let that happen at the wedding party. But
you'll cry at the actual wedding, and then by the time the reception, you'll hopefully chill out a bit.
I hope so. I'm going to have like a little flask ready to go. But my number 2 is Father of the Bride. So we'll swing back around. Chris, what is your number 2 wedding theme movie?
So my number 2 came out 2011. And it is really one of the first big movies to me with an all-female cast that was just stellar. And that's Bridesmaids. You have Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Rose Byrne, Rebel Wilson. And the person that stole the movie to me is Melissa McCarthy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, without her and her just, physical comedy in this movie, it's just, nothing else like it. Especially and I know it's gross to talk about, but the Indian food scenes.
Yeah.
And when it's coming out of me like lava. Oh, my God, dude. I lose it every time. But, the movie's it's so funny, but it also has a bunch of emotions tied to it. We're best friends for so long, and I want to be there for you, and I have to be there for you, but I feel like I'm not good enough sometimes. And that's I want to be there for Steven for his wedding, and sometimes I feel like, damn, I need to be there, but we're just so far away, and he understands and stuff like that. Now, if it was your wedding, Steven, I mean, I would have started walking like 2 months ago to get to you.
Well, you're going to be in the groom's party, so yeah, I would hope you would make it somehow.
Yeah. But, it's just one of those type of movies that, it's really tied with friendship. And that's a big theme with all these wedding movies that I'm noticing is like there's a lot of vulnerability in these wedding movies, even the raunchy comedy ones. Like there is an aspect of love and I can't do this without my best friend, or I can't be without this person, and this one just ties both of them together so good. And like I said, without Melissa McCarthy in this movie, it is not nearly as good. And that's crazy to say because you have Maya Rudolph, you have Kristen Wiig, you have Rebel Wilson all in this movie, but Melissa McCarthy just steals the show, man.
Powerhouse performance.
100%. But I do want to give a shout out to Rose Byrne, because when I say that woman can play anything, any genre, like, yeah, obviously Melissa McCarthy just was like amazing, and that was her breakout role. And I think what makes this movie so great is that it came at a time where women could be just as raunchy as some of the male comedies, because usually we get rom-coms, but we don't get to be like nasty and talk about pooping and stuff like that as much. Not I would say we did The Sweetest Thing, and maybe that will be one of my wedding honorable mentions, because I think that The Sweetest Thing walked so that bridesmaids could run, essentially. If you've never seen that movie, it's with Kristen Applegate and Cameron Diaz and Selma Blair, and they get real dirty in that one.
Braces.
Wow. But I just think that, like you said, just the dynamic of their friendships, and it's something that especially happens in female friendships, where you're having different life changes, especially if you're not doing it at the same time. Once your friend gets married, it's like it totally changes the dynamics, and now you're like sharing them with someone else. And then if they have kids, like it totally changes the trajectory of like your relationship. You can't do the same things, and if you're not in a really good place, if you're struggling while the other person is like on a high, it's almost like you feel like you're bringing them down, because you can't even get out of like your hole to be supportive of them, or even to say like, I'm in a really bad place. I think that she struggles with that. And then to have another character like Rose Byrne, because that happens, like you have your childhood friends, but then people will meet their like work friend, or if you live in different states, like for me and Jackie, we live in different states, and there are going to be people that are there with you all the time that know you in a different way as an adult. And, you come to visit and you're like, who is this bitch? Like,
it's that competitive nature, that underlining competitiveness. Yeah.
And Rose Byrne plays it so well. She plays the straight person in the movie, but her comedic timing is like impeccable. Like, I don't think she gets enough love for how freaking funny she was in that movie, and how she played it. I love that movie. That's a great pick. I'm glad you picked it. I was teetering it on it myself.
And I told Steven, I was like, man, I wanted to pick, going into the research for this, I wanted to pick maybe not so mainstream ones, but then I got to looking and I got to reading and thinking about all these movies that I've seen, and I'm like, man, I can't stray away from some of these because they're just so damn good. And this is one of them for sure. I'm like, it may not be Oscar-worthy film, but man, every time you watch this movie, and that's the thing, it's so rewatchable. Like, no matter what point in your life you're at, it could be a Saturday, this thing will be on, and you're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh hard. So,
it's funny you say that, Chris, because like, I believe Bridesmaids got nominated for Best
Original
Original Screenplay. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, it was a rarity for that kind of comedy. Yeah.
That is crazy, and I guess it's another Judd Apatow flavor that he brings something to it. At least he helped elevate that project.
I just feel like he produced and he kind of helped, but it was Paul Feig. Feig. I'm sorry from Feig.
Yeah.
We butcher names here all the time. It's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But the
director of The Heat.
But I give him so much props because he does a really good job directing women and not falling into tropes and letting, like, kind of just completely going the opposite way of a trope, which is really cool. And I can't believe that the first time I ever saw this man was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It still blows my mind.
You know, my first time I saw him was as in Heavyweights as the skinny camp counselor.
Right. You're right.
Well, Tim. He was the only counselor that lost weight, so they all gave him shit because he was the skinny one at the camp. Yeah,
if you love that movie, do not listen to our double feature of that. We did Heavyweights and Camp Nowhere, and the way we dragged that movie, it was bad.
Did you already do it? I might have already listened to it. Yeah, I think I've already heard
season.
it. Oh, okay, yeah. Then I definitely heard it. I just I probably suppressed it if it was something because I love that movie. But yeah, there's a lot of problematic issues in that movie. But that's why I say Tony Perkis is one of the most heinous villains in cinematic history. But yeah, that's a good one. All right, so Danielle, please, what is your number 2 pick?
I almost forgot for a second, but I remember.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to go with The Best Man. I'm trying to remember what year it came out.
It's like 99, I think. 99, 2000.
98, 99.
Something like that, yeah.
So for me, when I ended up going to college, it was like right at the end of high school and the beginning of college, there was just like a black film renaissance happening where we were just seeing... We were outside of, like, the hood classics that were happening, where it was just, like, gangbang movies, and we were getting into more fleshed out characters, and The Best Man was just definitely one of the best ones that came out of it, where I was starting to see, I was able to see people on screen that were similar to my friends and my parents and family and stuff like that. Which was really cool because the director he was like, I didn't see my friends and my group of friends from college, and so I wanted to make that. Now, is it messy, the storyline? Hell yeah. It's so messy. They've made 2 movies and an entire mini-series television show on Peacock because that friend group is absolutely insane and unhinged. Taye Diggs was like on a roll at this point because I think he had just done How Stella Got Her Groove Back and was it Dracula? No, House on Haunted Hill. Like, so he was in his bag at that point. So
and that was before Brown Sugar, right? I think that was before Brown Sugar. I like Brown Sugar. That was a good
Brown Sugar's a really good one too. So he plays Harper Stewart, and Harper gets a book deal. He's a writer, and he writes about his college experience and about his friends. And we find out that Harper has a secret, and it's in his book, and he is the best man at his best friend's wedding, played by Morris Chestnut, and Morris plays a New York Giants football player who's marrying his college sweetheart, and things get a little off track once he finds out what the said secret is. And it's a real test of their friendship. Another movie about guy friendships, and I don't want to, I mean, it's been years. I guess I could spoil it.
Oh, absolutely.
You can,
it came out in 1999, so you're way past, you're fine.
So we find out that Harper slept with Mia being his best friend, being the best man in his best friend's wedding. He slept with his girlfriend at the time while they were in college. Now we'll have to say, like, Morris Chestnut's character was sleeping around on Mia, and Mia she did it real sneaky. I always get mad because I feel like Mia did her friend Jordan, her BFF Jordan, dirty because she knew Jordan, and Harper had like this will they won't they kind of situation. So like, how are you gonna? She broke girl code personally, I think so. But yeah, it's a really good movie. It's really fun, and just like a diverse look at a black wedding, black wedding movie. So I thought it was fun.
I like The Best Man Holiday too. The sequel was really good. I haven't seen the miniseries yet, but I did like the sequel. And man, that's crazy that it still continues to go on. I mean, that's just a property of a good product, a good show. Mm-hmm. And I haven't. Is the miniseries good? Did you watch the miniseries? Is it good?
I think it fixed a few things, a few flaws that Malcolm Lee.
Malcolm D. Lee
made in the first movie. I still think there's some flaws with his female characters, but it's really cool to kind of dive in to see where these people are years later, and it does feel finished too, like at the end, like we're good with these characters.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so I liked it.
Okay, so before we run out to our number ones, do you have any honorable mentions that you would like to drop here as some of your favorite wedding theme movies? And Chris, of course, show away if you have any.
There's so many, like especially in our time period. I love Julia Roberts so much, so I'm definitely gonna say Runaway Bride because we get a team up back with her and Richard Gere. The Wood, which is another movie that came out the same year.
Oh, The Wood is so good.
That is
I love The Wood.
And it has Taye Diggs again, but it kind
I
of...
love Taye Diggs. Really, I think you're right.
I love Omar Epps.
Oh, man. Yeah, that time period, that, like, decade in between, like, 98, 99, that in there. Man, Taye Diggs and Omar Epps, boy. I'd watch everything. Yeah.
Well, Love and Basketball is like one of your all-time favorite
movies. Yes, it
is.
I love that movie so much.
That is a good one.
And there was a wedding in that movie. Can I make it my number one?
Yeah. You're going to switch it all up? Sounds good. Well, I mean, I had a couple. Yeah, I mean, I had a couple. Like Corpse Bride. Like, I even like The Corpse Bride because Tim Burton's nice little flourish in his style, where he actually directed one of his claymation movies, even though most people think he did A Nightmare Before Christmas. But yeah, Corpse Bride.
It's trash. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, hey, if someone's trash, they're trash. But poor Henry Selick. And, Chris, I was thinking, I almost put American Wedding on this list just because...
That's right, because that's our life, buddy.
It's so
The American Pie movies are our life. That is us.
But see, the only reason why I didn't is because it's just one of the entries in the series, so I couldn't really dedicate one of my honorable mentions to that. But there was one, of course, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I didn't see My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, and apparently Part 3 is coming out, but that's another really popular one.
Two is good. We actually had an actress who was in Greece doing the third movie, and we had just interviewed her, and she was so sweet.
Nice.
She was like, thinking about you guys. I'm on set with Joey Fatone, and we're like, we're so jealous.
That's so cool.
That's neat.
A fun little bit of trivia, because we had so much fun doing My Big Fat Greek Wedding on the pod. Didn't know that it is the highest grossing rom-com of all time.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was just stunned by that, and it was a sleeper hit. Like, it just slowly creeped.
The budget was nothing for it too. I think that was another thing that elevated the numbers for it too, is because in ratio to the budget, it was made for $1 million, $2 million, and it was pretty crazy, that hit. I don't remember, what was that, 2002, something like that. It was a while back, but and I guess, like I was saying, Part 3 is coming out. They're working on a third one, so I guess maybe their daughter is going to get married, or their son, or somebody like that. One that I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think they're going back to Greece because the dad in real life died, so he wants them to go back in the movie. He dies as well, obviously, off screen.
No.
So the premise is that they're going back. So I don't know, maybe the daughter does get married.
He ran out of Windex.
Yeah.
One that was actually, I liked it, but it's pretty heavy emotionally, is Rachel Getting Married with Anne Hathaway, where she got nominated. I think that was her first Oscar nomination for that movie for Best Actress. And, she has her issues where she goes to her sister's wedding where she is one of the bridesmaids, and just a lot of heavy emotional complexity in that movie. That one was really good. Did either of y'all see Shotgun Wedding, that new J-Lo movie on Prime? Was it any good? I never watched it.
Okay, so everyone talked really bad about it, but Jackie and I watched it over when it came out, and there were some parts that we were legit really laughing out loud. I felt like it was more of the J-Lo that I like from back in the day showed up a little bit in that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it went straight to Amazon. Look, J-Lo does her rom-coms. Let her do her rom-coms. There's nothing wrong with it,
Well, and Marry Me with Owen Wilson, she just did that
Not
one
so
as well,
much.
too.
Not so much.
Not that one isn't as good. Okay.
I feel like she had better chemistry with Josh Duhamel than she did with Owen Wilson.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, wow.
But I guess if I have to choose one to pick, then I'll watch Shotgun Wedding. But do y'all have any more? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So there's a movie called Monsoon Wedding. That one is like an older one.
Old 90s class. Yeah, you've got all the Miramax ones down. That's pretty good.
What is it? 4 Weddings and a Funeral is a classic.
Of course.
Hugh Grant is the man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of problematic shit in that movie, too, Chris. I remember we were talking about that. I was like, these two aren't really on the up and up. Him and Andy McDowell are kind of shitty people here. I didn't really get into that.
I will say, though, there is a TV show version that Mindy Kaling made that is on Hulu, and I very much like that TV show. Better than the movie, honestly.
Okay.
It's 4 Weddings and a Funeral?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, I'm going to have to check that out then.
It's like a rom-com TV show. And then there was, I'm trying to think, there was a Netflix movie that came out, I think, over the summer. I can't remember. If I think about it.
Okay.
It'll happen after we're done. That's what happens to us all the time. We're like, damn it, what was that movie? Oh, I remembered after you stopped recording.
I don't know about y'all. I like 27 Dresses.
Oh, that's a good one.
27 Dresses was great. Katherine Heigl, I love her. What else do I have? Go ahead. If you remembered, go ahead.
Betsy's Wedding. Y'all remember that one with Molly Ringwald? That's an old movie, though.
Whoa.
Betsy's
16
Wedding.
Candles. 16 Candles should count as a wedding movie.
Right. Wasn't her sister getting married?
Yeah.
Her sister. Yeah. Okay. We'll take it. That works.
Princess Bride.
Oh, gosh. Well, yeah. That ends in a wedding. I mean, not one we wanted to see, but yeah.
Bride is in the title. It counts.
Okay. No. Oh, so then Bride Wars.
Bride Wars.
Another Anne Hathaway. That was a good one. And that was a good team, too, like Kate Hudson and Anne Hathaway. I know there was a lot of critical backlash to that movie, but I thought it was fine. I thought those two together.
Movie.
Yeah, I think those two were really good together. Our Family Wedding, that one with Carlos Mencia and was it Forrest Whitaker? Yeah, and his daughter. And
Carlos
really
Mencia back in the day when he couldn't get edited or censored. That was he was in his prime. I liked that.
That movie was okay. Jumping the Broom was another one that was pretty good with Loretta Devine. She was mean in that movie, though. I didn't really like Loretta Devine being kind of, I don't know. She was kind of manipulative in that movie. It was really odd.
Oh gosh, Angela Bassett was kind of rude in that one.
That's
too.
true. They were real catty at each other. I didn't like that. I liked them in Waiting to Exhale better than that one. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess that's all I had for honorable mention. Do y'all have any more? Oh, did y'all see Destination Wedding with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder? That was okay. I thought they are good together. They had more chemistry in that than they did in Dracula. That's for damn sure. But I think I'm gonna Chris, do you have any more?
Unless you take my Steel Magnolias, but other than that, no.
They didn't get to the wedding, man. Way to bring that shit up.
Sorry, but it's still, the wedding is in the theme of the movie, right?
Wait, did they marry and then she died, or did they? She died before she got married. They did get married. Okay, I take it back, Chris.
It was years later that she passed away in that movie. Oh, you know what movie? Just Married with Ashton Kutcher and Brittany Murphy.
Gosh, Brittany Murphy. Yes,
and
I actually like that movie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, and what happens in Vegas count? I don't know.
So they got married.
I think it should. I like that movie. That was an underrated movie, and not a lot of people like that movie. But yeah, but Just Married. Wow, that was kind of like both of their first theatrical, like breakout theatrical hits, and that kind of jettisoned them out of the TV world. Well, I guess more so Ashton. Like, he was moving out of that '70s show because of the success of that movie, and yeah, that was a pretty good one. I didn't mind that one. All right, so I guess we're going to finish out with our number ones. I guess I'll go first, and then we'll end it back on you, Danielle, as your guest, or as our guest. We always have you start and finish for us. So my number one movie is coincidentally also my favorite rom-com movie, and that would be The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. I've talked about this movie countless of times on this podcast. It's so funny. It's so heartwarming, and it's not like. I mean, it does have that traditional Adam Sandler kind of potty humor, but it isn't so heavy as it was in like Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison. But this one was a little bit more wholesome in that regard. And I love the music. I love the production value. I love the characters in it. And the soundtrack is great because it's just 80s classics. They even released 2 versions of that soundtrack. It was so good. Billy Idol makes a cameo. It has everything you need in a 80s themed movie. And what's crazy is, like, if they made a remake of that today, it would be set in like 2000 or something, which is kind of crazy to think. But
don't say it like that. Don't say it like that. Yeah, it's true. But yeah, the Wedding Singer, and I always like to brag about the fact that The Wedding Singer, up until the release of Batman Begins, was the movie that I had seen the most times in the theaters, with a grand total of 7. And
wow.
I can't really explain how that happened. It was just another one of those situations where somebody said that they hadn't seen it. I'll go with you. And that's kind of how that happened. Plus, movies back then weren't as expensive as they are today. You can go
to
see
the
like
dollar movies.
Yeah, like a $3.50 matinee at the nice theater. But my number one is The Wedding Singer. How appropriate is that?
I love that Carrie Fisher was brought on to help doctor the script, and that's why Julia Gulia was such a fleshed out female character. If you think about Adam Sandler movies before that, none of the female characters made any sense, but she did. She felt like warm and, not just like, I don't know.
But just there.
One-dimensional chick or babe type of a thing. What's funny, too, is that in most of his movies, his female lead has a name with alliterative initials of VV. You have Vicky Valancourt. You have, that kind of Victoria Bennett. And it's just like that was kind of like a little trend that he had. But the ones that seem to be more fleshed out, like in Julia's case, they didn't have her name begin with a letter V. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. I said, wow, I guess that is true. But yeah, I love that. I love their chemistry together. I mean, their chemistry was so palpable. It created 2 more movies together. And although Blended wasn't the best movie, I love 50 First Dates. And I think they just need one more to kind of bring it back to a nice little square of films. But make a Wedding Singer 2 and set it in the 90s. Like, I think that would be cool. Or, I don't know, the musical version of it or something. But
the 90s are it right now. It would be perfect timing.
That's true. So, Chris, your number one wedding theme movie, please.
All right. And in preparation for my number one pick, I just, before we hit record, just finished watching it again. And I remembered how much I loved this movie. And it's 2018's Crazy Rich Asians. And man, I will tell you, the moment in this movie that makes me just like, this is a badass movie, is when you finally get to the best friend's wedding, in Singapore, and the bride is walking down the aisle. And before the bride walks down the aisle, there's a damn river that comes down the aisle. And there's a river, like she's walking on the river. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, dude, that's beyond amazing. I'm just, it was so cool. I was like, and then just the visuals of that moment, you know, she's barefooted, but she has like, it almost looks like henna or lace on her feet. And sorry.
I'm surprised you didn't love great. Phantom Thread. I didn't know you were such a seamstress, Chris.
I know, but man, that was just so neat, and to see that, and then it just, dude, Michelle Yeoh. Like, she's just amazing, and it's kind of stereotypical to play the mean, angry Asian mom, but she does it so well. Like, she scares me in the movie, but she scares me more in this movie than Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Right. So, because I'm like, you know, it just, there's a lot of similarities in Asian culture and Hispanic culture to where your mother, no woman is ever going to be good enough for you. Mm-hmm. And that scares me. It scared my wife for a while too. My mom scared her for a little bit, but you know,
she scares me.
Yes, she still scares you to this day. It's fine. But man, just to, you know, one of the very first movies to where you have an all Asian cast, and it's getting out there, and as this year you can see more and more Asians are starting to get recognition in their movies, and it's not just, oh yeah, Bruce Lee was in this movie back in the day, you know. It's so good, and that's my number 2 is Crazy Rich Asians.
I think you're underselling this, Chris. Oh, yeah, you're number 1. You said it was your number 2.
Oh, my number 1. My bad. Sorry. I apologize.
You did say you're number 2, right? I didn't skip
you.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I was like, did I skip you again?
Bridesmaids was number 2.
That's right. You know, I think you're underselling your affinity for Crazy Rich Asians. When we were in Vegas earlier, or in August of last year, they had a Crazy Rich Asian slot machine.
Dude, darted straight to that thing, yeah. And I stayed there for like 2 hours.
I was going to say, if we ever lost Chris, like, just go find where the Crazy Rich Asian slots, and I'm sure he's in there just pounding in the quarters and losing. But
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
My question, Chris, is who is the villain of that movie?
Ooh. The grandma.
The grandma?
Uh-huh. Ama's the mean one. She's the one that made Michelle Yeoh mean. And she's the one at the pinnacle of this when the main lead, I forget her name, hold on. Constance Wu. Yeah. When Rachel leaves and she's done with it, it's because Ama was like, you're not good enough. I can't have this in my family. You're done. And
Ama would have never done that if the mom didn't even look for the evidence on that and bring that to her. So I get that, but the real villain is Nick. Nick is the villain of that movie because Nick didn't tell her that he was rich. He decides to take her to his family. He knows the significance of that. He knows how his mother is. He knows how the politics in his family works. He does not prepare her at all. He doesn't prepare her for how she's going to be attacked by his mom, how his ex-girlfriend was there, how that lifestyle is for Rachel, who's never been in that situation, being, you know, Asian but American and knowing the difference. Nick knew, and he didn't tell her anything. He set her up from jump.
Yeah, you win. You're right. 100%. I didn't think about it like to me, I'm like, okay, and you're right in the aspect of, you know, being an American Asian to old school Asian. Like there's huge difference, and not knowing, and even when they're on the plane, he was just all like, oh, we just did a little business. It's just a perk that we get this badass suite that has better pajamas than all of her other clothes. Like, yeah, he could have, like, that's a long flight. He could have laid some stuff out, you know?
Yep.
But you're right.
He could have set her up with his cousin and say protect. He could have done so many things. He could have taken her shopping, like to really make sure that she was having the best foot forward with his family. If he knew he really wanted to be with her, he really fucked her over with that.
Did he not tell his family either? Like he didn't tell them either that he was bringing her, right? Oh yeah,
because it got like he got caught. There's somebody texted and they said, "Oh, they're bringing," and that text got around in like super quick time, and that's how the mom found out, was through a text of a friend of a friend of a friend type of deal. So I mean, God, dude, that was messed up. I mean, like, they gutted a fish on her hotel bed.
Yeah,
that was gross.
And he grew up with these people. He went to boarding school with these people. He knew. He knew. He set her up.
Nick, you're a jerk.
Y'all thought real deeply. I was just thinking, I like the Mahjong scene. But yeah, that's true. That's Henry Golding, right? Henry Golding.
Yeah, Henry Golding.
I like that guy. He's a pretty good actor. But all right, Chris, any more closing thoughts on Crazy Rich Asian?
Nope. Just if you ever find yourself dating an Asian, do a background check before you go to Singapore.
Is that what you told Tasha before you married her?
She knew I was from the barrio, not Asian, so we're good. She knew where I was from, how much money I had. $2.
That's love. That's love.
That's right.
There. All right, Danielle, please finish us in style.
My number one pick is from 1995. It's subverted the rom-com trope and just kind of put everything on its head. And the name of that movie is My Best Friend's Wedding, because our dear Julia Roberts, America's Sweetheart, was the villain. And we were sitting there watching that movie, rooting for her, but like also being like, Julia, you ain't right.
Yep.
You ain't right. You ain't doing right. But I support your decision. And then like being at the end, it was like one of those first times you're watching a rom-com, and she did not get the guy. She did not get the guy. There wasn't another guy that she got. It was just like, okay, this, it was at that time. I think it was very different. We hadn't seen anything like it before on that level. And for Julia Roberts to take on that role, I don't think anyone else except maybe Sandra Bullock that could have like done it justice, where you're playing somebody so unlikable but you still like them. I think even Cameron Diaz would have been, this launched her rom-com career, but only those few actresses could have that vulnerability and comedic timing that you're like still rooting for them to ruin these two very nice people's lives. It's a great classic for a reason. I also think the guy in this movie is a little bit of the villain as well, because he was flirting with Julia's character.
He bought into it. Yeah. Oh, he bought into it.
But yeah, you have an openly gay character. Yes, he is filling the gay best friend trope at the time. Before that time period, it was like huge. Actually, I'm wondering if it came out in 98 and not 95.
97, actually.
97. Okay, thank you. And then I don't think I saw Dylan McDermott a few times before this movie, but like this really kind of catapulted him into onto the big screens for us to for him to be a household name. There's I think PJ, the director's name is
PJ Hogan.
PJ Hogan. He loves him a really good. Oh, and he is the director of Muriel's Wedding.
Muriel's Wedding. That's right. Yeah. That is so crazy. It came full circle for you.
He really loves a sing-along. I think a lot of his movies have them, so I love him as a director. He does wedding movies very well, so. Yeah.
I'll say a little prayer for you. How was that, Chris? That was good, right?
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Is that what you're going to sing at your daughter's wedding? Do you get to sing at your daughter's wedding?
Well, I mean, they're not going to stop me. I'm going to show the wedding singer how it's done. But no, but My Best Friend's Wedding, everything you said is dead on. I mean, like the fact that Julia Roberts is in this movie, you just assume that her character is going to be wholesome, sweet, endearing, just like every other character she's already been playing. But then when you see her, you're like, oh, she's kind of conniving. She's kind of selfish. Like this is kind of weird. And it still managed to be a massive hit, which is because it's still a really good movie. And I think that her journey isn't so much. It's like what Rupert Everett's telling her at the very end. He's like, he's chasing Kimmy. You're chasing him. Who's chasing you? That whole. Yeah, that whole like bulb just goes off in her head, and she's like, "What am I doing? Why?" It's just that level of maturity that she, ascends to, and just like that understanding and wanting to be a better person and wanting to beat him. I mean, because they did have kind of a relationship before. I mean, I think she mentioned something about that, like when they were in college, they were kind of intimate and had their little moment.
Yeah, they tried to date. It didn't work out, mainly because she didn't really want it to work out.
Right.
He was in love with her for a long time, and she, as long as she had him in her back pocket, she was fine. But then now he's like legit moving on. She was like, hold on.
Yeah.
So you do ask yourself, you question during the movie, like, is she realizing she's just been in love with him this whole time? Or is it that her shiny toy is being taken away?
You want what you can't have.
Right. The Kimmy's so young and impressionable. I'm surprised that like she doesn't like murder this woman immediately.
That bathroom scene where I was like, oh man, like Cameron Diaz is so tall too. She's like 5'10", 5'11". Like she towers over her. And you don't really see that because you always see Kimmy as this like sweet, vulnerable character. But then when she's statuesque, like, I don't know, that bathroom scene, you're like, well, I think she's about to beat the shit out of her. But
she should have. She had.
Yeah, I love the other women in the bathroom just kind of, making their little comments about the situation. I thought that was a good touch because, if there's drama unfolding in any kind of real life scenario, I know we're all kind of just glued into it. But yeah, My Best Friend's Wedding is a really good movie. And yeah, Rupert Everett, I'm surprised he never really had. I mean, I know he had a run of things there in the early 2000s and stuff, but he's so good in that movie. He's so funny and just a scene stealer. And I'm just, what? He did that movie with Madonna, which really pissed me off. That the next big thing, or the next best thing. Yes, you're right. The next best thing. Man, that movie pisses me off. If I think of any movie that infuriates me more, I can't think of too many more than The Next Best Thing. I don't know, Chris. I'll have to tell you about it. It's just, you remember that one, right, Danielle? Oh my gosh, that ending.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Where. Yeah, no, hell no. Sorry,
we don't even talk about it.
This is wedding. We're supposed to be happy. This is a happy occasion.
We're supposed to be trying to make Steven cry, not be mad.
I know Chris was like, are you going to cry during the episode? I was like, I don't know. We're talking about movies I love. That's typically a good thing. Like, I'm not talking about, funeral movies or anything like that. But, well, I guess, I guess that was a pretty good run at it. So, Chris, if you have anything else, Danielle, please give us your. Oh, what were you going to say, Chris?
Oh, nothing. I was just going to say, man, I wish I was going to be there for your this big day for your family, dude. I will be there in spirit, and I hope you were able to get through this dance okay without the flask, because you're going to want to remember it.
That's true. I'll be straight. I got you.
Danielle, thanks for coming on. It was such a pleasure having you. Your movie knowledge is way more than mine. So Steven had somebody to actually talk to this time. So it was great.
It was quite refreshing, Danielle. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you guys both for having me and making this work. And I'm honored to just be here. And I had so much fun. And Steven, just during the weddings go by so fast, as you know, but try every moment to just soak in the day, because it's going to happen so fast, and it's just such a really momentous time. I was trying not to tear up a little bit when you were talking about like your choreographed dance, because like I always envisioned if I ever got married I'd have all those things with my dad, and unfortunately he passed away. So it's just like really sweet to see a dad be able to have that moment with his daughter, you know. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day and just be so happy. So.
Holy crap! Thank you. I'm gonna have to like turn the camera off so you can and mute myself. No, that's really sweet of you. Thank you so much for saying that and for sharing that. That's gonna make me cry. That's so yeah. That was good. Thank you. But so, in true Screen Addicts fashion, we ask our guests before you give all of your notes and everything. Is there anything that you would like to share as far as entertainment, or anything that you've been watching that was good that you would like to share on the episode? It could be movies, TV. It doesn't matter.
Oh gosh, what is happening right now? Well, I'm gonna finally go see the Fast and the Furious movie probably tomorrow, so that should be interesting. I know right now everyone is dragging Michelle Rodriguez because she had the audacity, and I don't know, I didn't see the whole clip for context, but she said, "How could Marvel keep making all these movies?" And we're like, "Bitch, you're about to make 13 of these damn movies, 14 if you count Hobbs and Shaw. Like that's crazy."
But only half of them don't count because she lost her memory, so it had to start
she
over.
Forgot she was in the first two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Man, that was kind of, at least Marvel. Every movie is different. It's a different superhero. These are all the same superheroes.
Look, for the
it's all
people
family.
who like comic books. The amount of these Marvel movies makes sense for us, and for the years that we were ridiculed and made fun of for liking that medium, which is comic books, this is our time, so everyone can go suck a
Absolutely.
Suck Thor's hammer.
I will ride this till the wheels fall off. Yes, do we complain and get mad at castings and the decisions? Yes. But that's what we do, and we're going to keep doing it because comic books tell the stories of our lives and marginalize people in different ways, and we're getting to see that play out on the screen. It's a wonderful time to be alive. It really is. And anybody who has a problem with it, I don't care. So.
Hey, you're right. We will bitch and we will complain and we won't like this. But guess what? We will still be there in the theater, our butts in that seat, opening night, or in that week, watching it.
Right. Oh, yeah. And the thing is, like, they think that these comic book movies are just telling, like, the same stories. Yeah, it's formulaic in some ways, but comic books are like soap operas, like they're massive. The stories are endless, and so a lot of these like old time directors with their bullshit, you guys need to come with some new stuff, come with some new ideas, fresh ideas outside the box, and we'll go see it. I'm sorry.
Don't keep remaking White Men Can't Jump. Jeez,
right,
Chris, come.
No, it's so bad. I'm not even gonna see it. And Jack Harlow. So you want me to go pay to see a movie with a white man who appropriates black culture but doesn't really give anything back, and now he's playing the Woody Harrelson role from a perfect movie that didn't need to be redone.
That's
He's not
right.
even a real actor, but this loser Jack Harlow, absolutely not. I'm not.
I didn't even know who he was until Chris talked about this movie, and I was like, well, I'll watch it, for you, Chris. And I mean, it wasn't bad. It's basically
it's not
good.
No, I mean, it's not the original. That's the whole thing. And that is our whole spiel on remakes as it is. Like, we're not fans of the remake, and if they happen to do one, at least just try your best to make it as good as you can.
Yeah.
But
they're greenlighting what they things that are safe, so it's whatever. I was very excited this weekend. I watched the TV show XO Kitty, which is a kind of like continuation of To All the Boys I Loved Before series, movies that were on Netflix. Very rom-com-y. But
who's the star in that?
It's the youngest sister, Kitty.
Oh, I didn't even know they made. I watched all 3 of those with my daughter. I didn't even know they had a spin-off that was coming out.
Yeah, they have a
I might have to sneak that one in before she gets married.
I will say it's very cute, And what I love about it is that it mixed, like, I watch a lot of Korean dramas, and so it has those Korean drama vibes, but it's very Americanized because a lot of the things they do on that show probably wouldn't be done in Korean dramas. So it's like a really good melting of both worlds. It was cute. It's a teen show. Like, I'm not going to say it's Shakespeare, but I liked it. So
That was good.
that's it.
So, yeah, that's great. If you want to share your show again and where we can find you on all of your socials, that would be great.
Sure. Our podcast is No More Late Fees. We talk about 90s and 2000s movies. Our next episode is going to be The Fast and Furious, so definitely check us out. You can find us at No More Late Fees on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We're constantly sharing nostalgic movie content, not just like podcast stuff, so it's a fun follow for some of our socials. So yeah,
Sounds good. All right, Chris, do your diligence, my good man.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on this tonight, whenever you're listening to the show. Danielle, again, thank you so much for being a part of this. It was so much having you. And guys, make sure you go and subscribe to their podcast, No More Late Fees. And while you're there subscribing, go ahead and go find our podcast. Well, you're already here, so hit subscribe. And then go ahead and leave a review. And then leave a review. Go listen to a couple episodes of the No More Late Fees podcast. Leave a review for them too. 5 stars for both of us would be amazing, and we would thank you so much. And then social medias, if you are there, go ahead and look us up, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Just look for the Screen Addicts podcast. You'll be able to find us. And then also go back to Facebook, look up the private group called the Screen Addicts Fanatics, and become one of our fanatics. That is where we're most active, dropping trailers and movie news and TV news and cancellations and renews and all the stuff that you need to know about the shows and movies you were watching. And it's a fun group. So go ahead and become one of our fanatics. We'd love to have you there. And then also, guys, if you have any comments, suggestions, anything at all you want to tell us, you can also email us at thescreenaddictspodcast@gmail.com. And we will read anything, or if you want to be part of the show, we'd love to have you on too. We'll get something scheduled up. It'd be awesome. Other than that, guys, thank you for joining us as always. As for me, good night.
Adios, amigos.
bye.